Hello, boys and girls, and welcome. This is Miss Hunter and Miss Dora. We are here today to teach you a third and fourth grade math lesson. So we will jump right in and get started. The first thing we're going to do is a math drill. So what I need everyone to do is to get a piece of paper, some pencil, and a timer. Once you have your materials, you are going to set your timer for 30 seconds, pause the video, and then answer as many questions as you can. So we'll give you just a moment to do that, and you may pause the video now. All right, Miss Dora, do you want to read our objective?
Yes. All right. So for the mini lesson today, the objective is for the students to demonstrate the skill of using the cube strategy to solve math word problems.
Whoop, one too many there.
All right. I know you're probably wondering, what is the cube strategy? Well, it is a tool that provides students just like you with step-by-step actions to pick apart and understand what is being asked in a math problem. Cubes is actually an acronym. All right, that means each letter in the word cubes stands for an actionable step. All right, the first letter in cubes is C. All right, so when you have a math word problem, you are going to circle each number that you see that is pertinent or related to finding the solution.
And remember, boys and girls, numbers may not always be numerical. You may also see them in word form.
Yep. All right, the next step is to underline important math words that you see. Ms. Hunter, what are some math words that are related to like adding and subtracting?
Great question. So you may see the word sum or more than, and those words will let you know that you need to add. You may also see words such as difference or less than, and those words let you know you need to subtract. Words such as product or each might let you know that you need to multiply. And if you ever see equal parts or the word quotient, it lets you know that you might need to divide.
Absolutely.
All right, so B stands for box the question. So the question is what we are actually trying to find. It's what our answer is going to be. And lots of times when you are looking for the question, you need to look for phrases such as how many, and look for your question mark at the end of your sentences. That will always help you to determine where your question in the word problem is. E stands for write an equation. So when you're writing your equation, boys and girls, you are going to make sure that you are including all the numbers in your problem. You are going to make sure that you are including your operation sign. So in other words, are you adding, are you subtracting, are you multiplying or dividing? And you also make sure that you want to have an equal sign. All equations will always have an equal sign. And then S stands for solve and explain your thinking using sentences. Remember, great mathematicians, they don't just write the answer down, they always explain their thinking using full, complete sentences. So when you're answering your problem, be sure to also include that sentence so that you are showing that you are a great mathematician. All right, we have our first example problem here. I will read it and help get us started. So Delilah plants 8 rows of pineapple plants with 7 plants in each row. How many pineapple plants does she have? All right, Miss Dora, do you want to explain our first step of cubes for this problem?
Sure. All right. The first step in cubes, C, is to circle. We're going to circle all of the numbers in the word problem. All right. So the first number I see is 8. She planted 8 rows. And how many plants were in each row? There were 7 in each row. So that's why I circled 8 and 7.
All right, boys and girls. So let's move on to the U for underline our important words. So before we move to the next slide, take a look at our problem and think for just a moment about what words you might underline. All right. So as you can see on this slide, we have underlined some of those important words. We've underlined plants because we know that that's kind of like our unit. That's what we're talking about, our plants. We've underlined rows, the word with, and each. And each is one of those clue words that help determine what operation we're going to use. And we've also underlined the words how many. All right, we will move on to E, and I will let Miss Dora explain this next slide.
All right, the next slide is B, which is for box. We're going to box the question. I saw how many, that gave me a clue. How many pineapple plants does Delilah have?
Wonderful. Yes, so we've boxed our question. Now we are moving on to E. Miss Hunter was getting a little ahead of herself there. So now, after we boxed our question, we are going to go to E, and we are going to write our equation so we can actually solve.
All right, Delilah had 8 rows times 7 plants in each row. So our equation is essentially 8 times 7.
Yes, wonderful. And our very last step is S. So solve and explain using a sentence. So take just a minute right now, boys and girls, and pause and solve the problem. And when we move back to when we go to the next slide, you can check your work.
All right, here we have 8 rows times 7 plants is 56. So in all, Delilah had 56 plants because she had 8 rows with 7 plants in each.
Wonderful. And notice the sentence, how it didn't just say Delilah had 56 plants in all. It was actually explained why Delilah had 56 plants, because she had 8 rows and there were 7 plants in each row. So that is a great example of how you could write a sentence for the S part of cubes. Okay, we have a second question for you. I will read it. It says, George buys 5 boxes of notebooks to donate to Buena Vista Elementary. Each box contains 12 notebooks. How many notebooks did George donate to his school? Again, I'll let Miss Dora start with our C and our first letter of cubes.
C is for circle, so I circled all of my numbers. He had 5 boxes, and in each box, there were 12 notebooks. So I circled 5 and 12.
All right, boys and girls, I hope that you saw 5 and 12 were the numbers in this problem as well that you would have circled. Now we are going to move on to U for underline important words.
All right. He buys 5 boxes. That means that is what he had in his possession. And then it tells us that each box contains 12 notebooks and how many. So each box tells me that I'm going to have to multiply. And when I saw how many, that was the clue to signal that that's a part of the question. That is what I'm trying to find out.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you, Ms. Dora. Let's move on to B. We are going to box our question.
How many notebooks did George donate to his school?
Wonderful. And boys and girls, I hope that all of you were able to pick out that question as well. Remember how many was a clue word, and then our question mark at the end of the sentence should have also been a clue. So let's go to E and look at our equation.
5 boxes times 12 notebooks in each box. So our numbers are 5 and 12, and we are multiplying.
All right, and finally, boys and girls, we are going to solve our problem. We are going to use the S in the word cubes.
5 times 12 equals 60. George donated 60 books in all because 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 equals 60. All right, we added, we used a drawing, and then we used repeated addition because repeated addition is also multiplication.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Dora. That was a great explanation.
All right, our last example is last summer, John's family found 152 shells at the beach. This summer, they were at the beach for 7 days. Each day, they found 3 shells. How many fewer shells did they find this year than last year? The first step is to circle the numbers. The numbers here we have are 152 shells, 7 days, and each day they found 3 shells. All right, so what would be some important questions? Take a moment and look. All right, the important words that were underlined were last summer, his family found, and then this summer, each day, and how many fewer. We underlined last summer and this summer because that is what we are comparing. And each day tells us that somewhere we are going to multiply. And how many fewer is underlined because that tells us what we need to do to find our solution. All right, the next step is to box the question. How many fewer shells did they find this year than last year? Again, how many fewer was a clue and the question mark. E stands for what, friends? That's right, equation. Our equation is 7 times 3. That will tell us how many seashells they found this summer. And then we used 152 minus our first answer to get the final answer. So Ms. Hunter, was this a single step problem or multi-step problem?
This was a multi-step problem. There were 2 parts that we have to complete before we can get our final answer.
Right. All right. So now we have moved on to the solution. This year, the John's family found 21 seashells. And last year, they found 152 seashells. So the difference between the two, or what we find when we subtract 21 from 152, is 131. So John's family had found 131 less seashells this year. We found a solution by first finding out how many seashells they found this year. And then I found the difference between this year and last year by subtracting.
Great explanation. I love those complete sentences. All right, boys and girls, so we have a little bit of a review for you. reviewing cubes. Miss Dora, can you explain how you want them to use this review?
All right, I want, as we look at the options, and we are first going to find which step we complete first. Would it be box the question, solve the equation and explain, circle the number, find the equation, or underline the important words? What do you think it is, friends? What is our first step when using the cube strategy?
Think about how you would spell cubes. That is a big clue to help you put these into our order.
All right, you should have a 1 by circle the numbers.
Okay, boys and girls, what do you think would come next? What would our second step in cubes be? Okay, now that you've had a little bit of think time, I hope that you are able to pick underline the important words. Underline starts with a U, and we know that the second letter in cubes is also a U. So underline important words would be our second step in our strategy. Okay, boys and girls, what about the third step? What is the third thing that we do when we are using the cube strategy? We will give you just a second to think. All right, I hope that you all were able to determine that it was box the question. We have C-U-B. B is the third letter in cubes. Box starts with the letter B, so we know that box the question is our third step. All right, let's take just a second and see if we can find our fourth step. All right, boys and girls, what did you all get? I hope you all were able to find the word equation on the screen, and note that equation is our fourth step in cubes. The fourth letter of cubes is E, and equation also starts with the letter E. So with that being said, that leaves us with our final step. If you've noticed, it is the only blank that we have left, and that is solve the equation. So that is step 5. S is the fifth letter in cubes, and solve starts with the letter S.
All right, friends, now this is a time for you to participate. We want you to help us solve this word problem. Miss Lemon had 44 candies. She divided them equally among her 7 students. How many candies did each student get? Were there any candies left over? Take a few moments to review this word problem and attempt to solve it using the cube strategy. Don't forget, look at your numbers, look for clue words. All right, Ms. Hunter, what operation do you think we should use to solve this word problem?
Well, it says she had 44 candies, and then she divided them equally among her 7 students. So that tells me that one of the very first things I'm going to have to do is divide 44 by 7.
All right, let's check out the solution. All right, sheets 44 is circled, 7 is circled, our clue words are underlined, our question is boxed, and here's our equation, 44 divided by 7. 7 goes into 44 6 times because 7 times 6 is 42. And when we subtract 42 from 44, we get a remainder of 2. So 44 divided by 7 equals 6, with a remainder of 2. So that means that each student received 6 candies and 2 were left over. All right, here is our final problem for the day. We want you to review this problem and put your answer in the comment section. Jason had 274 postcards in his collection. He wanted to give Sam some of his postcards, so Jason gave Sam 8 postcards from each set below: art, sports, schools, parks, beaches, and sunsets. How many postcards did Jason have left? All right, don't forget to use the cube strategy. The objective of this lesson is for you to use the cube strategy to solve this word problem. Don't forget to leave your answer in the comments below. All right, friends, this is Ms. Dora checking out, and
Miss Hunter.
Until next week, see you next time. Be safe, Bears.
Bye.